have everyone rise so we can say the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. We did have an executive session before we met this evening, and of course, it was just to talk over some personnel issues. So, on that note, once again, we'll begin with our public comment session. The chair wishes to recognize a resident or taxpayer of the Sayre Area School District wishing to address the board about title programming or any other matter of concern or interest properly raised in a public session. If you give your name and address and the subject of your content, you will be addressing. It is requested that comments do be kept to 3 minutes, and we will be keeping a time on that too, please. Moreover, we please note that comments relative to private student or employee matters should be directed to the superintendent outside of this meeting. So on that note, do we have any persons that would like to address the board at this time?
Good evening, Michael Shaw, 121 Perkins Street in Sayre. Been a few meetings since I've seen you, so I thought I'd bring you up to speed on a couple of my concerns and some of the concerns that some of the faculty members, some of the employees of this district, and also taxpayers have asked me about. So one is, I know our superintendent was away for 3 days at the National Superintendent's Conference. I was wondering if the public would get an update as to how that benefits us and what was learned. It's also something that happened where she went and got certified as a national superintendent. A school with as few students as we have and the financial issues we have, I don't know if that's money well spent. I would like someone to try to convince me and other taxpayers as to why it's important that we have a nationally certified superintendent for districts our size. Number two, I was told that we're going to have a consideration of this board to hire a new athletic director / recreation director combination. Again, money, I wonder if it's well spent, but certainly if that is something that is under consideration and is approved, I think you have a great candidate right here. Thirdly, I want to talk about the former, I guess the question was brought up by me a few months ago about the second hall monitor, and it was spoken by our principal that Mr. Shaw said something in a public meeting which isn't accurate. However, I believe that person was introduced to the entire staff along with the student body as our next, as another hall monitor. So maybe my information was correct, and if so, I apologize. If not, I think I deserve an apology. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Anyone else that would like to address the board this time?
Oh, excuse me, I have one last thing. Do we have a girls' basketball team or not? It's unfair to other teams that are supposed to play us if we're not gonna have a girls' basketball team. How are they gonna find teams at the last minute?
Where would you hear that information from, Mr. Shaw? Has there been any discussion amongst the board or anybody here about not having a varsity girls' basketball team?
I'm asking if there was one. I was told.
Well, you're saying that teams need to know, so you're acting as if that may have been something that's actually being discussed.
Actually, a basketball coach from another school asked me that today.
Oh, yeah?
And asked me if we were gonna have a girls' basketball team, and I said, I don't know.
Well, as
I
I've
heard
said,
there was gonna be
Congress
17.
responds to-
I'm sorry, go ahead, I'll let you finish.
There's a varsity basketball.
Excuse me?
There is a varsity basketball team.
Okay, so when that coach, I talk to him tomorrow, I can say, we are gonna have a basketball team.
Sure, my question is, why would you go on with those? We have to tell people right away, you didn't ask a question, you made an assumption that there wasn't gonna be a team, so where'd you get that information?
Well, I'll tell you, because I talked to students in the school, and they said they had like 7 girls maybe.
Now there's like 12, 13, 14 afterwards.
12 or 13 or 14 out for varsity. So
Yep.
these other schools are worried that if Sarah does not have a girls basketball team, then they got to go out and find 2 games. And to go out and find games at this point in time, as you know, as the athletic director, is difficult.
So my
That's my
question is
concern.
more around the perpetuation of things that aren't, that doesn't exist. So you're just listening to somebody, you didn't ask, you didn't talk to anybody.
I did ask. I asked 2 months ago to find out how we were doing with that, and I got no response.
I guess I must have missed that.
I did.
Anyone else that would like to address the board at this time? All righty, let's move on to our special presentation. We have from the Snyder Student Council. Good evening, guys. Ladies and gentlemen.
What we are doing this year for Student Council. What we are doing this year for Student Council. I don't know. Some of our main focuses. First, the 6th grade bathrooms. People have reported the bathroom blocks don't work, garbage on the floor, writing in the stalls. We want dividers in the urinals, replace metal walls on the walls and doors due to missing/rusted doors. Next, people have wanted breakfast to be in the cafeteria like it was before COVID. There are not enough hot lunches, food is cold, and there's messes in the classrooms. We also want better desks because they are chipped, broken, and wobbly. In student council, we use opinions from other students.
They took a survey to get this information.
How we choose people for student council. We choose people by voting in each class. Each person got to choose 2 people. In each class, there were 4 people nominated. I got chose by asking my classmates to vote for me because I've always wanted to be in student council to help our school. Ideas we have for Spirit Week. Anything but a backpack day, bring a blanket day, just 100 years old, red and blue day, fancy week, and character day. Rusty Rail. We are going out onto the field to announce the winner of the Rusty Rail food drive. For many years, we have won against Athens. Where we are going this year at Student Council. We are going to the nursing home, animal sanctuary, and the Rusty Rail food drive. Fundraisers. $1 gum day, get a cookie for $1, bring your own chair day, paint yourself day, and recess for a day. More ideas we have. Craft day, switch grades for a day, police visit/appreciation day, and pool/water day. We sponsor Spooktacular, the talent show in Springfield. Thanks for listening to all of our ideas. Please take some of them into consideration.
Thank you.
Do you, any of you guys have any questions?
So they were given a survey of what they'd like to see changed this year in their school. And that was the first slide. So those are some things that they came up with, and the others were new ideas that they'd like to see implemented, maybe not all of them, maybe some of them, maybe all of them. So their next task is to figure out how you get from A to B, and what's their plan and how we're going to do those things. So they've been working pretty hard, and they'll be very tired after Friday.
Work on Mrs. Morrell really, really hard.
They're working on her, we're in Penn State currently.
That's right, there we go.
Mrs. Romberg, how often does your student council meet?
Officially once a month. They come down to my classroom a lot in the morning, and they're running like announcements in the morning, they're running different things, so a formal meeting once a month. Lots of stops in the mornings for different things, and counting cans and little great things, and like Mrs. Podolinsky's using them for Red Ribbon Week this week, so we're on task. with
I know
that.
they'll be very busy Friday counting a lot. So do you have a group of students that are officers within the elementary like you do at the secondary level?
No.
maybe you could have a sixth grade student reach out to me, email me the next time you meet, so that we can come and follow up on some of those ideas that they'd like to see happen at their school. And then I could, follow up with our building and ground supervisor to talk about what might need to go on the list and what, why those things, so that we can continue to move forward on them.
When they talked about the bathroom stalls, we talked about what our responsibility would be if we're gonna update some things, like what can we do? As the trendsetters in the school to make sure that it's taken care of and not scratched all and ripped all over again, like what are some ideas we have in place to keep our things nice if we're gonna invest money in that, so, they have some good points. They're a good bunch.
Okay, thank you, I look forward to hearing from someone.
And Mrs. Romberger, could we also have a copy of this? Is it a possibility to get a copy of this presentation?
Ms. Hoffman said absolutely. She was my author and illustrator of this, so she did a great job.
She did a great job.
They gave input at our last meeting, we did the presentation, she put it up and we took some things out, we put some things in, and we worked together as a group to fix that, so it takes a lot of guts to get up and do that. And yes, we will email you a copy of it.
Oh, we appreciate
And you
that.
said that you received that information from a survey. What grade levels were surveyed?
Just my members.
Oh, just the members were,
Yeah.
okay, that's
And
all
the
right.
high school-
Well, they're representative of the full school. They were not, yes?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So the high school did them as well, and they were wildly interesting. Like, we had 60-some surveys come back, and it really made me get a different perspective of where kids are coming from. And so they were followed up by survey 2, which was, okay, this is what you want, how you gonna get it? Like, school morale was one of the first ones. I agree with you, how do we fix it? So they're working on how now. Which was a good, we did that this year, was our first time doing the surveys, and it was great feedback that we got from them all.
So I know I voluntold, a couple of my boys to help me out with the pool day. If there's another pool day in there, let me know.
Oh, we have 2,
Oh,
both
there-
13, December and February, we take them both days.
There we go. They're on board.
Volunteer.
They don't know it yet, but they're on board.
Mrs. Romberger, also let their teachers know they deserve an A+ for tonight.
Maybe a rise ticket tomorrow in their buckets. So if you guys step on it, we'll all rise. They're okay to go?
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Number 2, the minutes, we recommend that they be consented, that were back on October the 8th of this year. Yeah, the instruction consent as well. You folks have your conference requests in there. Field trip request, and letter B. District volunteers, and letter C. And letter D, the National Youth Tobacco Survey, motion to approve that the junior and senior high school to participate in the 2025 National Youth Tobacco Survey. In athletics, a motion to approve the athletic personnel. Number 5, the personnel. Number 6, finance. To approve the transfers as well as the treasurer's report, including cafeteria, capital projects, federal programs, and general fund, as well as the Berkheimer tax report. Quest Tech E-rate service. Number 7, first reading of policy for threat assessment, that would be 236.1. We have a motion and a second on the consent agenda.
So I guess I'd request one would be, because we haven't had much dialogue, that we pull the athletic personnel either for discussion, separate vote, if you need to have it, but we pull it out of the consent agenda for dialogue, and then we can, there should be no issue following up with that. That's not a change in the agenda, it's just a change in how we vote.
Okay. So if it's okay with the board, we'll pull the athletic section of the consent agenda for a separate vote. Any other, well, first we gotta get a motion and a second.
Motion.
A motion
Second.
and a second. Questions or comments? No questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? So moved. Now down to the roll call agenda items. We'll go back to athletics, number 4, and the athletic personnel motion to approve the coaching staff as presented.
So moved.
Second.
In a second. The coaches in question are Ryan Miller, the volunteer JV girls basketball coach, and Nick Bavacqua, volunteer junior high girls basketball coach. Questions and comments?
So I think one of my comments is, do we do reference checks based on prior schools that coaches have coached at? And if they haven't coached, are we doing reference checks on former employment? Like, what's the checks and balances for the coaches? Is my question. And I guess.
Yeah, for varsity coaches, we tend to vet them, but then as we say, we have our varsity coaches select their staff, so they do the vetting of the coaches, they give them names, and then we talk about them. If we have an issue with somebody, then we'll bring that up, but it's usually done via the coaches.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing that there is none, Mrs. Luchenko, could you give us a roll call on this, please?
Before we roll call,
Okay.
sorry, before we roll call, are we going to roll call individual? So A1 and A2, or are we roll calling both?
So the
We
rule
can-
of thumb is if you want to vote yay, you can announce that. You can say yes for 1A or no for 1B or vice versa. And you do your vote.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, now, Mrs. Luchenko.
All right, we'll begin with Mrs. A.
Yes.
Mrs. Blake.
No on A1, yes on A2.
Mr. Hadlock.
Yes.
Mr. Hickey.
Yes.
Mrs. Kmetz.
Yes.
Mr. Petrini.
Yes.
Mr. Roof.
Yes.
Mr. Skirpon.
No on A1, and just point from my perspective, no on A2 comment. One of the things that with the varsity coaches selecting, I think we need a little bit more, just the board to have a little bit of background on why the selection was made. It clearly is the administrative role, but from a board perspective, we are assuming a lot of things without a little bit of information, understanding the selection.
Okay, and Mr. Cole.
Yes. Moving down to number 8, for bills, motion to approve the bills as presented on October 21st. We have a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions or comments on the bills? Seeing there is none, Mrs. Luchenko.
We'll begin,
roll call.
thank you. We'll begin with Mrs. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Hadlock.
Yes.
Mr. Hickey.
Yes.
Mrs. Kmetz.
Yes.
Mr. Petrini.
Yes.
Mr. Roof.
Sorry, yes.
Mr. Skirpon.
Yes.
Mrs. Agnew?
Yes, except I abstain on number 1, please.
Mr. Cole?
Yes. Letter B, on the 24-25 transportation contracts. Motion to approve the transportation contracts for the 2024-25 school year between the Sayre Area School District and the D&J School Bus Company and Chambers School Bus Company as presented. We have a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions or comments?
I have a question. Was an RFP performed for busing contracts?
No. So I just, like, what did he?
No, I was just gonna say no as well.
I was looking at either one.
Thank you.
So can we perform an RFP, only asking, because I think that we should do our due diligence to see what else is out there. Even if there is nothing, it is better to have all of the information in front of us versus just bits and pieces, because we've always just used these companies. It may be best to just reach our hand out and see what else is out there. Just my thought. And if we need to do that, if we would like to perform an RFP, if the board determines that that's a good choice, do we table this? Can we table this? Is there a specific deadline where it has to be done? Someone's gonna have to teach me.
Make a motion to table. You can make a motion to table.
I think that we should consider tabling it, performing an RFP, seeing what else is out there, and then if it comes back and these two companies are the companies that we need to use, then that's fine, but at least we did our due diligence to make sure that that's what, is best for the district.
What's the time frame for it all? I mean, right now, this is the 24-25 year.
Right.
It's 24-25 year. So if this is something we do now and go out for RFP next year,
And I don't remember the dates, do you remember the dates for the contracts?
It's July to June.
July 1st, so we're already in it.
That's correct.
So July 24 to June 25. So then, Mr. Petrini, maybe you're right, maybe we approve and then we consider RFP.
in April or May.
Correct.
So I would put it on the calendar for March to prep the RFP and pull it to the board for the 25-26 school year, if that's the will of the board. We could do it that way, if that's the desire. And then you would have that contract or contracts and all that information available in June to start with contractors July 1 of 25.
Thank you.
Certainly.
So did you, Mrs. Black, did you make a motion to table?
I don't think that there's a
Okay.
need to motion to
There was-
table.
Okay.
Just as long as we can perform the RFP, in the timeline that Dr. Delosio just mentioned, I think that's appropriate.
And at the moment, I'm not sure if there is another bus company out there that is in our area that can handle that, but like, again, we can run the RFP next year, that's for sure.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? Mrs. Jago?
We'll begin with Mr. Hadlock.
Yes.
Mr. Hickey?
Yes.
Mrs. Kmet? Yes. Mr. Petrini?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Skirpon?
Yes.
Mrs. Agnew?
I abstain.
Mrs. Blythe?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes. Moving on, high school principals report, Mrs. Healy.
Good evening, everyone. Just a reminder to families, Makeup Picture Day here at the high school will be this Wednesday. We're in our final week of food collection for the Rusty Rail Food Drive, so please get all of your items in. I know many teachers are offering incentives for their homerooms at the high school, which is very much appreciated. We are also in our final week of the National Honor Society Children's Book Drive. So anyone who has some gently used kids' books, you can drop them off in the main office or the guidance office until Friday of this week. Next week is Red Ribbon Week here at the high school. We have themed dress-up days, so look for the flyer on our website and our Facebook page. And believe it or not, Q1 ends this Friday, the 25th. So if you have any questions about grades or the grade improvement process, please reach out to your child's teacher via email. We do have parent-teacher conferences coming up really soon as well. They will be the evening of November 6th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. and then during the day on November 8th. So more information will be sent out with those dates and times and how to request a meeting. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mrs. Ely. Mr. Hunt.
The book drive? Yeah. Yep, here at the high school, guidance or main office.
Mr. Hunt, if you want to drop off the admin office, we'll make sure they get up there. Just to get you know. That's okay. That's all right.
I wasn't planning to address the board this evening, but due to the public comments this evening, I figured I might as well step forward and bring forward some facts. At the beginning of August, and I wish Mr. Shaw had stayed, but maybe the concerned faculty, staff, other school district coaches, athletes that are talking to him will hear this. Beginning of August, I presented to the school board the numbers of the sports that were, and athletes that were signed up through Family ID. In August, we had 15 young ladies signed up for girls basketball. It was on the list. Last board meeting, in the beginning of October, I also presented, and our numbers had actually grown to 17. Those exact numbers were presented, each of you got a copy of it, and there were copies available to the community members that were here. So, I just want to go and make sure that everybody that's listening this evening understands that we've been presenting this information for the last 2 months. Unfortunately, those are the 2 months that Mr. Shaw chose not to be here, and that's okay. But I'm hoping somebody hearing this will present that with him. In the future, if you have any questions about sporting numbers, please feel free to call me. Everybody in this valley has my cell phone number, hasn't changed since 1997. And my email address is well posted. So at this time, if there's any other questions about the athletic numbers, I do have those reports on my drive, on my phone, and I can answer them directly for you right here. Awesome, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Mrs. Morrell is not here this evening for her elementary school principal's report.
She's just keeping distance.
Nervous. She's in Sam's Club trying to do
Oh, boy, is this gonna be fun on Friday, I'm telling you. But anyway, down to the Northern Tier Career Center report, I just wanted to let everyone know that the Occupational Advisory Committee meetings are taking place today and tomorrow for all of their subject matters down there. They're setting up goals and finding different needs that they may have to consider for the coming year. Adam Bennett State Farm made a $2,000 donation to the Career Center's Automotive Center, thanks to their car and motorcycle cruise that they held just recently. Also, seniors have started to take forklift training, which is highly needed for our area, seeing we do have a lot of different organizations here that do need forklift drivers in their facilities. And then PS Bank student recipients, they have been selected and supplies are on order. They've been giving away, if I'm not mistaken, well over $75,000 a year to the students that are selected for their supplies down at the Career Center. So on that note, anyone with a committee report that they'd like to report on this evening?
Mr. Cole, if you permit our community relations, I'd like to just thank the board and the members of the Community Relations Committee that participated in the parade last week. It was a great deal of fun. brought new ideas forward. Really never thought I would drive a golf cart with a duck on the front of it, but you know, it was really a great idea, and so I really appreciate that new idea being brought forward. We dressed our ducks in Sayre gear with the athletic teams, and we had a marching band director in the back of the Jeep leading us. So Mrs. Blake, thank you for, you know, sporting the Jeep, directing the band, playing the music very loud, and the participants for driving and not hitting anybody with the golf carts, even with our little routine that we did at the end. I know there was some sadness that we might not have won one of the components, but really we had a great time and made a lot of memories. And I think a lot of people were surprised when we threw ducks out at them and then followed with candy. I think the rest of the golf carts threw candy. So Mrs. Agnew and I were in charge of the ducks. And that was hard to keep up with. Driving a golf cart, Mr. and Mrs. Hoffman are here, and I'm so glad I didn't get pulled over. I was really driving blind that day, and I was a distracted driver, grabbing ducks and throwing them out at the participants on the streets, and we had a great time, so thank you. Mr. Katrina caught one, I think.
I got it.
Yeah, you got it done.
I just wanted to say that,
You stayed in the line
yeah,
until we got to the end.
so we got the,
You got lost.
like I said, if you ask Mrs. Morrell, I usually drive blind, but anyway. She thought I did that too this year, so. Okay, thank you. Any other committee reports this evening? Alrighty, I just wanted to say once again, thank you for, we had such a good time, as Dr. Delosio had said, with the homecoming, with the parade, the game, the crowning. I want to say congratulations to seniors Gwen Firestein as well as Nick Pelicano for their honors at the homecoming and the festivities, and to everyone that took place in the homecoming court. They all deserve a round of thanks. Believe me, they're good kids, good kids. The Rusty Rail game again Friday night. Don't forget to make your non-perishable donations and enjoy a great football game. Another tradition continuing next week with the spectacular on October 29th at the football field. Like I said, that's just a growing tradition that our families and our kids really enjoy. And I want to say thank you for those who put this on for here. And give Tammy Shedden a big shout out for the job she's doing with our webpage and keeping things up to date so that our parents, our students, and our community can keep up to date with things that are happening and things that our students are doing, out within the realm of here of the schools. And also, I want to give a big thank you to both the high school and to as well as the Snyder School. The flower boxes around our signs look terrific, and I know that's all part of the students. And again, I want to give them a big thank you, and it's looking great. It spruces our buildings up a lot. Thank you. Dr. Delosio.
Yes, thank you. So I'm going to follow up on the website that you said. So this year we started a spotlight at the bottom. So every month a student at the elementary school and one from the high school is added to the bottom of our homepage with a picture of them and a little bit of information. And so there are 4 right now, 2 from the elementary and 2 from the high school. So if you get a chance, hop on that homepage and scroll down to the bottom. In the future, we're hoping to add a staff member to that spotlight, so we'll put 3 up a month in the near future. The National Superintendent Program, I wanted to share with all of you. I was there last week for 3 days, came back on Saturday. A great learning opportunity, and I really just want to express to the board that I thank you for the continuing educational opportunity that you give to me, grant to me as a superintendent, same as we do for our educators, and I will have a full presentation on that at the next meeting, as I typically do, and go over all those topics. Since I just came back on Saturday, it'll take me a little bit of time to synthesize all that information and pull it together for everyone. As many people have said, the Rusty Rail is in full swing with the collection. Like Mr. Skirpon, I too will be adding to the Snyder count. We want to make sure that our elementary principal is wearing the white and blue, proud, all day long, right? It was all day long.
Yes.
Yes.
The last time I saw
Yes?
She said, depending on which way it comes out, maybe we'll both wear each other's. She's trying to negotiate already.
I think the handshake already happened though. So we'll go with the number that Mrs. Romberger provides to us coming out of that elementary school. You know, and if you get close to a number and you need me to run to Aldi's or Walmart, just, you know, I have my phone number, just send me a text.
Yes.
Oh, the whole thing. Maybe even hold a flag, right, with a Nittany line on it, maybe even that. And maybe somebody could come over and decorate the car, maybe. You know, we'll see. I think I could get Mr. Claypool in on that too. I think we might be able to wrangle him, and it's probably good that Mrs. Morel's off this evening, right? Mrs. Morel's, yeah.
Well, and Mrs. Morel, I think a simple Penn State pajama outfit would probably be the best thing. She loves pajamas.
Yes.
I just hope Mrs. Morel isn't listening
Take the top two pieces on that there. So in June, I think it was June, it might have been July, but I think in June, the board had tasked and asked that the administration put a scorecard together for the board. And so we have our first pieces of information coming forward. The scorecard will go up on the website and continue to be updated throughout the entire year. So our data has come in from the beginning, so I wanted to share this information with the board prior to putting it on the website tomorrow. So the one thing that I want to point out about the beginning of the year, you know, we have our limited information, and so I'm waiting for a little more data to come in for that 6, 7, 8 to fill in that second page there for our beginning of the year assessment. But I want you to have an understanding that the numbers, the targets change each time we do an assessment. So in kindergarten, when they do a letter recognition for their student body, you know, we're looking for a target of 4 of the 26 letters to identify. Mrs. Romberger and her kindergarten team, next time, given in November, the target goes up. So that affects the percentage and all those pieces, so I want to provide that information to you as we collect this information. Does anybody have any questions about this? All right, thank you so much, Mr. Cole.
Thank you, Dr. Lozio. Coming up, our future meetings, our next Board of Directors meeting will be November the 4th here in the Junior Senior High School Auditorium at 7 p.m. A Finance Committee meeting coming up on November the 18th, 5:30 down in the conference room at the administrative offices. Athletics and Recreation also November the 18th, 6:30 up in the library here at Junior Senior High School. And the Building and Grounds meeting coming up as well on November the 18th, and that's at 7:30 p.m. also in the administrative offices. Once again, I'll ask the board if there's anything that they would like to bring under discussion or if they have any comments.
Yeah, Ron, two things. One, Jill asked a question about this. I wasn't quick enough. This happens often with me these days. So I think, right, this is, you know, we need this data, there's no doubt. I think there are monthly items that we should be looking at, you know, monthly, quarterly. So our assumption is, right, this will be included in, each month. We'll see, we'll have an update each month and have, you know, other related metrics that are, you know, key to not just, I mean, academic performance is purely number one, but also operation of the school district and whatnot.
Yes, Mr. Scarpone, that's correct. So on pages 3 and 4, and I didn't print those, the quarterly, so as Mrs. Ely had said, the quarter's over this, at the end of this week. And so we have a financial component that we will know, are we on target with what we had budgeted? We will have for buildings and grounds information. I think attendance is on there at a quarterly rate. There were some things that were 3 times a year, 4 times a year. Some of it was monthly, and some of it is the data is collected. So for instance, in grades 3, 4, and 5, we collect data at the beginning, the middle, and the end of the year. But in kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, we tackle that September, November, January, March, and then at the end of the year, say 5. Right, so it'll come up periodically, and it'll be updated and brought to the board each time. And so when I didn't want to print pages 3 and 4 because they were blank. And so those will be added at the November meeting, and then also the entire 4-page document will be on the website, and we'll add to it as we collect that information and update the board.
Okay.
Thank you.
And secondly, Ron, and I don't have an answer for this, but our YouTube, when this gets broadcast, I I mean, has anybody else looked to see? It is really, really, really difficult.
So I guess my question is, so for every time I speak, I pull the microphone
Yeah.
to me so that it is. So I guess the question is, when I am speaking and you go back and listen to the recording, can you hear me?
The last
And is
meeting,
it
I would say,
then
yeah, last meeting, I would say,
overall?
yeah, it was kind of overall.
Okay.
challenge.
So I want to know if we need to pull the microphones to whoever is speaking, the people that are in the audience, or, you know.
I don't know if that could.
Or I'll have
help.
technology
That
check
could
on
help,
that.
Or is there a way we can direct connect audio, for
Sure.
example, just, you know,
I will have JC look into that.
I pulled mine closer to Donnie, that, you know, because I can project out. But,
yeah, I'm just
you know.
saying, I think it may need direct, because even for the students, right, it's difficult sometimes to hear. If there's a direct connect, it's probably gonna pick it up better maybe than we even hear here. If we're gonna do it,
Let's do it right.
I just think we need to make it
And
functional.
I think for our students, and I hope they aren't mic shy, Mrs. Romberger, but I know especially with our elementary students and even with our high school students, it might even be best if they take the mic off of the stand and, you know, get it right close up so that we can hear them. But
Anyway.
I think what I'll do is have the director of technology take a look at something that could be a direct connect and how much that would cost.
Yeah.
And we'll take a look at that. Thank you.
Even if you don't direct connect, you can get external microphones for iPads that like
Okay.
clip to the top that would probably help too. So
Okay.
just
I will
not-
ask him to check into all that.
Like, yeah.
Mr. Cole, can I
Yes.
just make one last comment? So I just wanted, I saw Mrs. Ramsey out there in the audience, so I just wanted to mention that the homecoming week, all of the festivities that led up, homecoming in general, we're just gonna bubble wrap homecoming, it was flawless. So, and I heard that as an elementary school, parent, not even as a high school parent. So your work for that was phenomenal, so thank you so much. The kids absolutely loved it. The hallways were incredible, they did such a good job, so thank you to that. And then the PBIS pep rally that happened at the elementary school, I heard rave reviews about that as well. So just hands off to everyone involved in all of those things that keep the students super happy and coming home cheering on the Redskins week after week. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Ramsey, too. Like I said, in fact, I didn't even realize that I was even up there doing the introduction for the homecoming queen until about, I think it was when the game began, and then all of a sudden I heard, hey, Ron, are you supposed to do this? I said, well, I better go up and find out from Mr. Mickey, so. And anyway, he told me, he says, yeah, I need a break, Ron, so I said, okay, I can step in, so. But it's always a pleasure to help out the school district, things like that. All right, anyone else that would like to offer questions, or from the board, questions, comments? If not, motion to adjourn.